Hey, Distortion listeners, Darcey and Stacey, let's watch.
Правиш от мухата слон. Pretty much you're making the fly elephant, you know, like it's little things, but you make it huge.
I'm sorry, Georgie. For actually talking to Jessie.
Just to prove point. To show her that you doing this is not right.
Okay, so we're learning from Georgie that this was a passive attempt to tell Darcey that it's not okay to reach out to his ex. We hadn't heard him say that explicitly before, but it's not a good idea. I understand the impulse, but you should have more direct conversation, and two wrongs don't make a right. So he feels hurt that Darcey has repeatedly reached out to Octavia, his ex, and believed everything that his ex has to say, and really will believe anyone who says anything bad about him, regardless of how believable, how credible the source is, which hurts Georgie, of course. And he's frustrated with it, and in a fit of frustration, he reaches out to Jessie, and then he says, well, the reason why I did it was because I want to prove a point. I want to say it's not okay to do that. Yeah, it's not a... Again, I understand his frustration because he kept trying to say something, and people will do this sometimes. I've seen this where you love someone, you want to be with them, and you keep trying to tell them, and there is no budging on the other person. The other person just never understands, never listens, continues, either doesn't understand when you say, or says they understand but continues to do the bad thing. And then you just eventually throw your hands up and he's like, fine, okay, I'm going to do it to you. And you're going to know how it feels. And then you won't do it anymore. It's not a good idea. You should go to couples therapy way before that point. But again, I've seen it before. And sometimes some couples, it ends up working for them. There's a scenario where Darcey's like, now I know how it feels. And I'm sorry that I did that to you. Of course, we would want to say, okay, let's not do this process again. Let's just listen to each other up front. But anyway.
Georgie, she's a little bitch, and I don't respect him. I know I do wrong by reaching her ex. I don't know. I was hurt, and the thing she do is not right.
Okay, good. On the bright side, Georgie is admitting something that we've never heard Darcey agree to or admit to, that I was hurt and what I did was wrong. Yeah. So just imagine Darcey saying something like that I was hurt and I did something wrong, but I didn't know what else to do. Have we ever heard Darcey say something like that? Now, that doesn't make Darcey a jerk face. It just means that, so the tragedy of relational traumas is it makes you feel like there's something deeply wrong with you, which will often result in defenses that are very against admitting that you've done anything wrong, because you already believe that there's something deeply wrong with you, and you're already telling yourself that you're a screw up and you're not lovable and you're ugly and you're stupid or whatever it is. And then when someone on the outside says, hey, you did something wrong, it's like you can't take it. I've heard it so many times from myself and from my past. Screw you, back off, that kind of thing. And so you feel bad about yourself, and it makes it so that you can't admit when you just make mistakes.
It was a waste of time.
Which time made you feel wrong? You try to make points. It's not competition, to make points. You up the relationship. With everybody, you try to make points.
So, yeah, Amos and I can agree with Florian on this point. If you're trying to make points, you're going to screw up a relationship. Having said that, like I said earlier, I've seen people in Georgie's position do this, because it's like, what else am I supposed to do? I've tried everything else. Maybe this will work. And maybe it will, which is interesting to think about.
To be honest, once I listen to Amos, I feel like uncomfortable. I'm thinking the worst, the boys' night. I try to be protective for my sister, understand? So I want to say something to Darcey. But I don't like to be involved with Darcey and Georgie. I don't like to put more gasoline and more fire, understand?
Okay, makes sense. You're triangulated in, and you're feeling it, and you don't want to be a part of that, but you also are protective of your sister. You want to tell her what's up. And what do? It's kind of a dilemma. And Georgie was lamenting the fact that Amos told Florian, because Georgie tells Amos, Florian comes in, then Amos just tells Florian. And if you're Georgie, you should, I should have told Amos, don't tell Florian, because it's going to put Florian in a really weird position where he either has to be loyal to Darcey and cause problems with Georgie and Darcey, or I have to be loyal to Georgie and risk my relationship with Darcey. This is a classic triangulation scenario. And Murray Bowen, who invented the concept of triangulation, learned, because he was triangulated a lot in his family of origin. He would go home for Thanksgiving or something and he would be triangulated a lot. And it would really put him in this weird position. And so what he did is he just, my dog is barking. It was figuring out that he would automatically tell everyone what he was told. So if Bowen was in Florian's shoes, he would immediately go to Darcey and say, so Georgie said this the other night. And so what does that do? Well, what it does, and it's a simplistic way of detriangulating yourself, but what it will do is no one will triangulate you anymore because everyone knows that you're just going to go around and tell the other person. And so it gets you out of that kind of dynamic where you're forced into a awkward position. Anyway, let's continue watching.
Yeah.
Beautiful villa. Do you sleep
Gorgeous. Oh, slept like a baby.
Too.
The mattress is comfy here.
Yeah.
I have some news. What?
I got a text from Florian. Georgie called Jesse.
So now Stacey is also triangulated. You have a game of telephone. So if you're Darcey, if you're Georgie, you should have reached out to Darcey last night and said, by the way, there's a chance that Florian's going to reach out to you, so I just want to tell you. And then he could have had a direct conversation. But that has been circumvented. So now for Darcey, the differentiated thing to be is, okay, he called Jesse. That sounds threatening to me because Jesse only has bad things to say about me. And Georgie went behind my back, so that hurts. The very next thought you should have is, well, I've been doing that nonstop with Octavia this whole time and not apologizing for it. So I shouldn't have any ground to stand on. And then you should say, okay, I need to call Georgie. I need to talk to them right away. Let's talk on the phone. Let's see what's up. Let me ask Georgie, why? Let me start from the beginning. Why did you call Jesse? And then if she were to be open, Georgie would say, well, I did it because you were hurting my feelings by calling Octavia. Okay, why else did you do it? Well, I did it because I just kind of wanted to know what's up. And he said a lot of stuff about you that I didn't believe. He said that you cheated on him and you were going to cheat on me. And I actually told him to F off because I didn't think you were going to cheat on me. And then they could repair and everything will be fine. Let's see what happens.
You know what? I don't need that. What an animal. I feel disgusted.
All right. Again, initial reaction. It hurts. What an animal. I feel disgusted. Interesting phrasing, but okay, you're talking to my ex like that. And I wonder if for Darcey, it's like you're talking to my abusive ex, which is very triggering to me and reminds me of all those things. Does that mean you're on Jesse's side? Does that mean I can't trust you? Okay. But then the very next thought should be, but I've been doing it all the time with Octavia. So do I have a leg to stand on? Let's see if she can get there.
Those guys are disgusting. They're both manipulators, so they can manipulate each other.
There's something about that word. Is that a trend or is it just, has it always been there? I think it might have always been there. I remember when I was growing up, there was always this, we used to use this word scammer actually in the 80s. We'd say, oh, that person's scamming you. And it's this bias that I think we have. Now, can people manipulate? Yeah. And are there quote unquote manipulators out there? Yeah. They're rare, but they're out there. You know, for various reasons, either psychopathic or because they're immature or they're scared or something. There are people who manipulate. But it's pretty rare. And certainly, I don't think Georgie fits the bill there. But there's often that reaction of I feel bad, I'm hurt, I feel threatened, manipulator. Essentially, the accusation is you premeditate this action against me. There's a conspiracy against me. And I get the knee-jerk reaction, but it points to traumas, because when we're young, there are moments where we actually can be conspired against, or it can feel that way. And then we apply that as an adult in situations where it doesn't apply. I'm still waiting for Darcey to say, hold up, I've been doing this whole time. So if he's a manipulator for contacting Jesse, then I'm a manipulator 10 times over for contacting Octavia many times.
I texted Octavia out of concern. I wanted to know if he was that way with her. He's doing it in retaliation.
Yeah.
He's deceitful, he's disgusting, and he's spiteful.
Okay, there's kind of a point there that, look, I was reaching out to Octavia because I was worried about Georgie. That doesn't make it okay, by the way. Just because you have understandable reasons for doing something doesn't mean the action is justifiable, but okay. You know, I was doing it because I was worried. He was doing it out of spite. He was doing it to make a point. I don't know how she knows that. That's actually kind of true. But boy, if you could see the interaction, you would see how he defended you. He didn't believe Jesse.
And so that. It's really disheartening to know that my fiance reached out to someone that hurt me the most in my life. The fact that he reached out to Jesse, the one person that I would never, ever want to stay in contact with, let alone him to be in contact with.
Okay, totally. Did you think about that with Octavia? Did that ever cross your mind after Georgie told you, not maybe this far down the request of please don't contact that person, but definitely like, can you please not contact that person? She's against me. We're going through a divorce. It's common for people breaking up to not have the best view of each other. Did it ever cross your mind?
It's the most hurtful thing that you could ever do. Shame on him.
Now, the theory goes, or the hypothesis that I've had for a long time, is that for the two of them, particularly for Darcey, I think, she has experienced so much relational trauma and abandonment and mistreatment. And given the parents, I'm guessing it's more just general neglect is my guess. And also ostracization, maybe even minor bullying while they were growing up in school. Those two things alone can cause what we've seen here. You don't have to be overtly abused or mistreated. The parents went through a divorce. I think the dad was out of town often because I think he works overseas. Who knows? It's completely speculative. But something definitely, if what we're being presented on the show is an accurate representation of her personality, she was clearly mistreated or abandoned or made to feel worthless growing up, or all the above, such that I'm guessing this is an hypothesis that I would have to ask her if it makes any sense. But what happens is there's this notion of I'm not worthy and I'm going to fight to be. I have two modes. Either I am worthless and I feel it and I am demoralized and I fall into a pit of despair, or I fight. I fight for my rights. I fight for my power. I fight for who I am as a person, and I'm not going to take it anymore. And I'm going to be disgusted, and I'm going to push back, and I'm going to rise above it, and I'm going to say, I deserve better. That's the two choices she has. She doesn't have another mode. We haven't seen another mode. And when you have those two choices, obviously the second choice is better, right? To fall down a pit of despair, anything's better than that. So if all you have is this fighting notion, because what it does for people, I don't know, but often what it does for people is, there's no ambiguity to it. It's he's wrong, he's a manipulator, there's something deeply wrong with him, I'm right by implication, I'm being victimized, but he doesn't know that I'm strong and I'm going to rise above. When you're in that cycle, and we've seen that many times with Darcey, and we've seen the two of them kind of feed off each other, then you're very sure of yourself. There's no ambiguity. There's no gray zone. There's no, well, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe he's not disgusting. Maybe I'm actually screwing things up. Maybe this relationship is, sometimes good, sometimes bad. There's no ambiguity there. You're very sure of yourself. And you can go to bed at night going, I'm right, he's wrong, I'm powerful, he doesn't know how smart I am, he doesn't know that I'm seeing what's happening. Task done. Move on with my life. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to question it, because here's the problem, is that if I question it and I start to introduce nuance, then I have to ask the question, am I to blame? And since I, underneath it all, believe I'm completely worthless, then to ask a question, am I to blame, will risk me falling into the pit of despair. Because if I think I am to blame, then I really am to blame, and I'm all to blame, and I'm to blame for everything, and I know what that feels like. So I have to stay up here. You know, narcissism is like this. This isn't narcissism. It's under the umbrella. I won't go there, but narcissistic personality disorder. I'm describing that as well, as people will have this need for constant narcissistic supply, because it's a constant effort to convince others and themselves that they are superior and better, because if they introduce the idea that they're even slightly not superior, then they have to question, maybe there's something wrong with me, which causes them to fall into the pit of despair. And people with narcissistic personality disorder will sometimes fall into that pit, and when they're down there, it is rough for them. Now, maybe you don't have any sympathy for that, but anyway, this is akin to that. It's not narcissism, but it's akin to that. And I just, it breaks my heart for Darcey, because with Jesse, it made sense. With Tom, you could say maybe it made sense, but with Georgie, it doesn't seem to be making sense, and it is causing her to have problems and potentially lose a relationship that could have been very corrective and very fulfilling to her. I don't know, but I don't know. It just looks like all of her projections are not accurate. They're all distortions, and it's this very forced issue, and it's going to, it looks like it already has ruined her relationship, and then she's going to be single again. And then we're going to watch her date someone else. And we got to believe that the next person is going to be somewhere in between Georgie and Jesse, because most people are. And it's not going to be good.
He's still good, he's still bad, it's up. Like you see, like I reach out to him for the reason I like to put myself in situations, and Darcey reach out to Octavia.
It's his way of saying touche, Darcey.
It is, but if you did something wrong and someone's toucheing you, then you should say, maybe there's something wrong with what I did. Now, Florian isn't helping at all. I don't know why. He says he doesn't want to create drama. He says he wants to be loyal to his sister-in-law. All right. Well, how about you just say, hey, I just want to tell you, I heard something last night, and it's eating me up inside. Actually, probably the best thing that one would do is to, if you want to detriangulate, is to turn to Georgie and say, you got to talk with Darcey about this right away, because I can't hold on to this secret. You got to talk to her now. And if you don't talk to her, I'm going to tell Darcey what you told me, because I just can't. I'm sorry, I just can't hold on to this secret. So why don't you call Darcey and let me know that you did that, so I don't have to get in the middle of this. That would be the most kind, differentiated thing to do. Moral thing to do, really. But instead, he goes to Darcey and is now like depicting it. He should just say, so if he did that, he should just say, like, look, one other version is, hey, Darcey, Georgie told me something last night that you need to talk with him about, because I don't want to get in the middle of it. But I don't want, and if Georgie doesn't tell you what happened, then I'll tell you, because I just don't want to get in the middle of it. That'd be another version. Another version is what he said. It's just like, look, you talk with Jesse, you need to talk with. We're getting further down the road of problems, and now he's like trying to inform her about what he said, and I don't think he's represented it very well. Plus, he wasn't even there for the conversation with Jesse. Anyway, but if you're Darcey, you should be like, Florian, you heard something. I'm just going to go to Georgie. The question that I have is, that I've had for a number of episodes, does Darcey even want to be in a relationship with Georgie? Because there's a version of this story where Darcey decided she was done with Georgie episodes ago, and is just now making a case for why she's going to leave him, or something like, I don't know. But if her goal is to make the relationship better, then obviously she should go straight to Georgie and say, what happened? Let's see if that happens.
What's wrong, murder? Stop.
No, I haven't cried this whole time. Trust me.
You've been strong. Let her.
See, like my new teeth?
Yeah.
sexy smile. It's nice, right?
So it's interesting. We haven't seen overt evidence of this, and I haven't shown all the scenes, but my running observational task, I think, is to see if there's any evidence that for Darcey and for Stacey as well, that when they are suffering from additional relationship problems, partially maybe even unbeknownst to themselves that they're partially to blame, as it is for all of us usually, that we will turn to ways of trying to cope. And sometimes it's alcohol, sometimes it's golf, sometimes it's work, sometimes it's something else, and sometimes it might be medical procedures as a way of saying, I'm going to do this for me, this is special for me, and I'm going to do it with my twin, and we're going to have fun, and we're going to rejuvenate, and this is me taking care of, I hope everyone has a version of this. It's self-care, sometimes we call it. We're stressed out, and I'm going to go on a hike. I need to go on a hike this weekend, self-care. I'm going to take a bath, self-care. I'm going to play golf all weekend. I'm going to hang out with my buddies. I'm just going to veg and watch TV. And this is self-care. And for them, it's procedures, which is totally fine because each to their own. The issue is, does it actually work? Because, if your self-care is hiking and you're getting out in nature and you're breathing a fresh air, you're getting some exercise, and you're de-stressing, there's a meditative quality to hiking of, one step, breathe. And it clears the mind, gives you space, gives perspective. Nature can give perspective to things sometimes. And it works. Do the procedures work for them? It's possible that they do. It's also possible that they don't, ultimately. That they're chasing something, youth or some version of beauty, that is never attainable because it's not attainable to anyone unless without Photoshop. And ultimately, it's their only way of trying to rejuvenate and balance themselves, but it ultimately is an ever-running treadmill. I don't know that, of course. There's no evidence of that, but it just makes me wonder, and mainly because I would hope that they had other ways of exploring self-care, other ways of establishing for themselves that they're good people or that they are connected to other people. Anyway, let's continue watching.
It's just disheartening and very, very hurtful. Someone that proposed to me, that says he loved me, and I've done everything in my power to love him.
Yeah, I get it. I don't doubt that it doesn't hurt. And it would hurt anyone, I think, that you would go behind my back and talk to my ex as what seems to be some way of trying to get back at me. That would hurt. And then you should think, well, wow, if he feels anything like I feel right now for what I did, I have some apologizing to do as well. Yeah, two wrongs don't make a right. And I've been saying that from the beginning as Georgie, if you're doing this to make some kind of point, it's not okay. Two wrongs don't make a right. But when you're beating your head up against a wall saying, please don't talk to my ex, please stop talking to my ex, it hurts my feelings, please don't do that, please don't believe my ex is not a valid source of information on me, talk to my friends, but don't talk to my ex. And then you continue to talk to the ex over and over and over, then what are you going to do?
A husband-to-be, a fiancé. It's a pattern, Darcey. And this has got to stop.
Everybody has a dating pattern. My pattern's different from Darcey's pattern. And I feel like Darcey just tends to stay in toxic relationships for far too long.
Yeah, so two things. One, if that is your model of thinking and it's always going to happen, you're sure that Darcey's always going to stay in a toxic relationship too long, then you might see toxicity when it doesn't exist. The other thing is that it's possible that Darcey will, through her own unconscious ways, make relationships toxic that aren't necessarily toxic. The other thing is she might seek toxic people and then claim that the other person is, or we don't do these consciously, it's subconscious that we will, if we have reason psychologically, we will seek relationships that are bad for us. Not bad for us, that's a bad word. We will seek relationships that allow us to recreate what happened in the past. So maybe that's happening as well. But even though it looks like with Georgie, it's not happening, it's seen as it's happening by both of them because that's what they expect to see. I don't know. There's another version of reality that this show is not showing us what's really happening, and Darcey and Stacey are completely rational in their accusations of Georgie, but the show is just editing all that out. I have to hold out for that possibility because who knows? All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.